Hello and happy Halloween, everybody. I want to try something a little bit different with this SCP reading. I'm going to try to move and add the pictures as we go instead of just one static picture throughout the entire story. And I also want to take the interview audio from the SCP Wiki page instead of trying to do both and like, oh, that's him there and that's him there. So let me know what you think down below. Leave a comment, all that stuff. Let me know if you like it this way or if you like me doing the voices. Thank you. Item number SCP-049. Object class Euclid. Special containment procedures. 049 is contained within a standard secure humanoid containment cell in Research Sector 2, Site 19. 409 must be sedated before any attempts to transport it. During transport, the SCP must be secured with Class 3 humanoid restriction harness, including locking collar and extension restraints, and monitored by no fewer than 2 armed guards. While 049 is generally cooperative with most Foundation personnel, outbursts or sudden change in behavior are to be met with elevated force. Under no circumstance should any Foundation personnel come in contact with the SCP during one of these outbursts. In the event 049 does become aggressive, the application of lavender, L. multifida, has been shown to produce a calming effect on the entity. Once calmed, the SCP generally becomes compliant, and will return to containment with little resistance. In order to facilitate the ongoing containment of 049, the entity is to be provided with a corpse of a recently deceased animal, typically a bovine or another large mammal, once every 2 weeks for study. These corpses are then instances of SCP-049-2. They are to be removed from the containment cell and incinerated. 049 is no longer permitted to interact with human subjects, and requests for any human subjects are to be denied. Temporary Containment Procedure Update. Per Containment Order Committee 409 S19-17-1, the SCP is no longer permitted to interact directly with any members of Foundation staff, nor are they to be provided with any additional corpses to be used in surgeries. This order shall persist indefinitely until such time as consensus regarding the ongoing containment of the SCP can be reached. Description: SCP-049 is a humanoid entity, roughly 1.9 meters or 6'2" in height, which bears an appearance of a medieval plague doctor. While SCP-049 appears to be wearing thick black robes and a ceramic mask indicative of the profession, the garments seem to have grown out of the body over time, and are now nearly indistinguishable from whatever is beneath them. The X-ray does indicate that, despite this, 049 does have a humanoid skeletal structure between this outer layer. 049 is capable of speech in a variety of languages, though tends to prefer English or medieval French. 049 is generally cordial and cooperative with Foundation staff, though the SCP can become irritated or outright aggressive if he feels like he is in the presence of what it calls pestilence. Though the exact nature of this pestilence is currently unknown to Foundation researchers, it does seem to be an immense concern of 049. The SCP will become hostile with individuals it sees as being affected by this pestilence, often having to be restrained if it encounters this. If left unchecked, SCP-049 will generally attempt to kill any such individual. 049 is capable of causing all biological functions of an organism to cease through direct skin contact. How this occurs is unknown, and autopsies of the victims are variably inconclusive. 049 has expressed frustration or remorse after these killings, indicating that they have done little to kill the pestilence. though they will usually seek to perform a crude surgery on the corpse using the implements contained within the doctor's black bag. This it carries on its person at all times. While the surgeries are not always successful, they often result in the creation of instances of SCP-049-2. SCP-049-2 instances are reanimated corpses that have been operated on by 049. These instances do not seem to retain any of their prior memories or mental functions, having only basic motor skills and response mechanisms. While these instances are generally inactive, moving very little in a generally ambulatory fashion, they can become extremely aggressive if provoked or if directed by 049. 049-2 instances express active biological functions, though these seem vastly different from the current understood in human physiology. Despite these alterations, 049 often remarks that the subjects have been cured. Discovery. 049 was discovered during an investigation of a series of unknown disappearances in a town of Montauban in southern France. During a raid on a local home, investigators found several instances of 049-2 as well as 049. While law enforcement personnel engaged with the hostile 049-2 instances, 049 was noted as watching the engagement and taking notes in its journal. After all the -2 instances were dispatched, 049 willingly entered Foundation custody. The following is an interview conducted by Dr. Raymond Ham during the initial investigation. Interviewer, Dr. Raymond Ham, Site 85. Interviewee, SCP-049. Begin log.
Alors, comment devrions-nous commencer une introduction?
Is that French? Can we get a translator?
The King's English. No need for translation, sir. I can speak it well enough.
Good. My name is Dr. Raymond Ham, and
a doctor. A like-minded individual, no doubt. Wherein is your speciality, sir?
Cryptobiology. Why?
A medical man, such as myself. Wonders abound. And here, I worried I had been abducted by common street thugs. This place, then, this is your laboratory. I had wondered, as clean as it is, and with such little trace of the pestilence here.
The pestilence? What do you mean?
The scourge. The great dying. Come now. You know what is it they call it? No matter. The pestilence, yes. It abounds outside these walls, you know. So many have succumbed, and many more will continue to, until such time as a perfect cure can be developed. Fortunately, I am very close. It is my duty in life to rid the world of it, you see. The cure to end all cures.
When you say the great dying, are you talking about the bubonic plague?
I don't know what that is.
I see. Right, well, the entities our agents encountered at the house, they were dead when you encountered them, yes? You reanimated them.
In a manner of speaking, you see things too simply, Doctor. Expand your horizons. Life and death. Sickness and health. These are amateur terms for amateur physicians. There is only one ailment that exists in the world of men, and that is the pestilence, and nothing else. Make no mistake, they were very ill. All of them.
You think you cured those people?
Indeed. My cure is most effective.
But the things we recovered were not human.
Yes, well, it is not a perfect cure, but that will come with time and further experimentation. I have spent a lifetime developing my methods, Dr. Ham, and will spend a lifetime more if necessary. Now, we have wasted too much time. There is work to do. I will require a laboratory of my own, one where I can continue my research unimpeded. And assistance, of course, though I can provide those on my own. In time.
Oh, I don't think our organization would be willing to...
Nonsense. We are all men of science. Fetch your coat and show me to my quarters, Doctor. Our work begins now.
Notes. While the SCP is capable of communicating in a very human way, there's this strange sense of unease that one experiences when in its presence. Make no mistake, there's something very uncanny about this entity indeed. Additionally, we've confiscated that pointed stick that SCP-049 keeps waving around. Part of this due to standard confiscation protocols of possessions of anomalies, in part because 049 really is a menace swinging that thing around like he does. The entity was displeased at first, but after we made some concessions in providing it with test subjects, which are admittedly more of a benefit for us than him, it was fine with the idea. Addendum 049.2 Observation Log. While in containment at Site-19, 049 spent a considerable amount of time studying and performing surgery on various mammalian corpses that it's been provided. The SCP will routinely spend several days performing surgery, and then, regardless of whether or not the corpse becomes an instance of SCP-049-2 or not, spending several more days documenting its finding in a thick leather journal stored in the doctor's bag. 049 will often seek to share its findings with members of Foundation staff. The following is a log of several occasions during which SCP-049 has been observed operating on mammalian corpses. Observation Log 049-OL-1 Summary. Subject SCP-049. Preface. The test subject D-85123 was introduced into the containment cell. The entity expressed sincere gratitude toward all members of the containment and research staff. Notes. 049 began asking the subject several standard medical questions as it began to remove tools from its bag. Shortly after finishing preparations, 049 quickly closed the distance between the two, killing the subject with a touch to its throat. Afterward, the SCP made a number of considerable alterations to the basic structure of the subject's corpse, often introducing fluids from within its bag into the subject by way of a hand-pumped copper tube. The resulting 049-2 instance became animated, flailing and grasping at the walls of the chamber, with a number of manufactured limbs while moaning out of an oblong orifice now present in the sternum. During this time, 049 was observed taking notes of the instance in its journal, remarking to the watching research staff about the efficacy of the cure. Security personnel entered the chamber to remove SCP-049 back to containment, and were attacked by the instance. Security team dispatched SCP-049-2, and then 049 returned to containment with no resistance, stating that it was pleased with the results. OL.2 Summary. SCP-049 operated on a goat corpse for several days, eventually resulting in an instance of SCP-049-2. 049 expressed pleasure in this outcome, though admitted, quote, "The disease was still in its nascent stage. My veterinarian practice is rudimentary, but the patient responded well to the procedure." OL.3 Summary. 049 spent several days operating on an orangutan, reanimating it several times. However, 049 appeared to be discontent with the results it had experienced, returning to the specimen 3 times after the initial reanimation for work. After it was unable to reanimate the corpse a 5th time, 049 turned the corpse over to the Foundation, stating that I have learned so much from this, though I fear my early optimism was misplaced. I hadn't yet crossed such a stumbling block on the road to the cure. More subjects like this would do a great deal in advancing my research. End quote. OL7 full. 049 spent several days operating on a bovine corpse, breaking only to die on a requested dinner of crackers, salted pork, and hard cheese. Beginning first by embalming the corpse, 049 was observed producing a number of long syringes from its bag, each containing a different dark viscous fluid. The SCP described these fluids as essence of the humors, and elaborated by saying, the pestilence may bring about systematic imbalance. In such a case, before true healing can begin, one must find the humors in balance or the body will reject the cure. End quote. Over the next few days, the SCP spent a considerable amount of time adjusting the organs of the bovine corpse with a number of large metal instruments. After 8 days, the SCP produced a lightning rod, which Dr. Ham exchanged for an electric cattle prod and an extension cord, struck the bovine in several locations. This action seemingly had the effect of reanimating the bovine, which once again became ambulatory, despite the inversion of its head and the reorientation of its limbs. Follow-up interview. Begin log.
We've watched you work for several weeks now, and honestly, I'm not sure I understand what you're doing. Could you describe your process in detail?
Oh, goodness no. The process is most intensive. As I said to your assistant, the best instruction you will find about my methods are here, in my journals, as I have kept exhaustive records of my work there.
I see. Well, my concern, Doctor, is that we still don't understand what you're seeking to cure, or how it manifests, or how turning these creatures into quasi-living, mindless drones helps in that effort.
You do not understand the pestilence, even after all this time. Doctor, it is an unspeakable horror, one that has shown its true face many times before, and will again. I find myself blessed with the wisdom and good senses needed to root it out and destroy it. But many, like yourself, cannot. It is a cruel judgment, I fear, to be at the mercy of a disease you cannot fully comprehend.
That still doesn't answer my question. How's your cure any kind of cure at all?
It is a cure. You may laugh at my efforts if you please, but do not besmirch the good name of scientific progress that has developed this great mercy. What you short-sightedly see here is a life better than any this creature could have hoped for. Stricken as it was with the pestilence, this creature is now clean, unable to spread the pestilence, and free from the terror it would have experienced otherwise.
This is hardly a creature at all, Doctor. It's not even...
Do not jape with me, sir. You and your colleagues are like so many others, unable to look past minor setbacks to see the salvation taking place before your very eyes. Do you wait to remove rotten timbers until the whole collapses on top of you? No. You find them and you pull them out and replace them with those untouched by rot. And most of all, you do not simply mock the structure because it now looks different to you. It is strong. It is free of disease.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean to agitate you. I'm just trying to understand.
Yes. Well, do mind your words in the future, Doctor. I am a professional, but even professionals may feel the bite of pride in dealing with criticism of their masterpiece. I will forgive this as an act of good faith between colleagues.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
No, that will be all. Another test subject on the usual schedule. You know my preference of subjects with more human anatomies.
Attending researchers' notes. 049 does seem to genuinely want to help other people, though it has not been yet able to provide a concrete example of what exactly it is trying to save all of us from. I have watched it now over several weeks. While the outcomes do not seem to ever change, 049 continues to claim that it's growing closer to the perfect cure. I think the entity may be more aware of the reality of these outcomes than it would like us to think. Addendum. April 16th, 2017 incident. Starting shortly after 049's initial containment, Dr. Ham conducted a number of interviews with the subject regarding the anomalous properties, and over time began to note its displeasure with its subjects in the SCP-049-2 instances. It continued for a period of several months, during which 049 never exhibited any aggressive behavior. On April 16, 2017, Dr. Ham was entering the test chamber to conduct another routine interview and began to grow anxious and asked if Dr. Ham was feeling well. Following protocol, Dr. Ham reminded SCP-049 that the interview was required, after which the entity turned hostile and attacked Dr. Ham, killing him. Due to the lapse in security protocol, and because Dr. Ham did not activate the in-chamber emergency system, his corpse was not discovered until 3 hours later, by which point the SCP had converted it into an instance of SCP-049-2. In the aftermath of this incident, 049 was interviewed by Dr. Theron Sherman. Interviewer, Dr. Sherman, Site 42. Interviewee, SCP-049.
I need you to explain yourself. SCP-049, you are being directed to explain your actions, and I will remind you that failure to cooperate will result in further restrictions during your containment.
My actions do not need to be explained.
You killed Raymond Ham, and then butchered him until he...
Not dead. No, not dead. He is cured.
Cured? Cured of what?
The pestilence, sir. I had thought you, at least, would realize what luck it is. I detected it before.
What pestilence? You keep going on and on about this pestilence, but you have not once been able to properly identify this disease. What could you have possibly seen in him today that you had not seen so many times before, that it would be worth his life?
The pestilence presents and progresses in unforeseeable fashions, and has a queer way of creeping into the unprepared. And call it what you want, Doctor. It was a mercy I did to him. He is cured.
He is a vegetable.
I would not expect you to understand. You and your ilk have proven time and time again not to be men of science, but men of emotion. You cannot appreciate the horrors I have seen. Those many millions who have succumbed to the pestilence and been changed.
Your cure cost Ray his life.
No, good sir. I have saved it. You would allow this world to slip back into the despair of disease and death, ignoring that I have created a miracle. And
what disease? What pestilence? He was a healthy man. He was a good doctor.
I'm offering it freely to the afflicted. You are not worth this argument, sir. You are short-sighted and foolish. Dr. Ham was sick, and I cured him. I am the only one who can do this. My work must continue. There is still so much to learn, so much.
I've had enough of this. Consider your allowances revoked.
Saved, even you.
Welcome to Containment 049.
Might be saved.
We're done here.
I can save them all. I can cast down this plague once and for all. I can do this. Only me. I saved him. Dr. Ham. I cured him. was sick. I know he was sick. I know he was. And you are all sick, but I can save you. I can save all of you because I am the cure.
Addendum 049.4 Post-Incident Report Interview. The following interview is an excerpt of 4/16/17 049 Incident Report. The interview was conducted by Dr. Elijah Itkin and took place 3 weeks after the start of the initial investigation.
SCP-049, we are conducting this interview to close out our investigation of your actions taken on April 16th that resulted in the death of a staff member. Do you have any comments to make?
Only that I look forward to the day when you will allow me to resume my work. I have spent the last few weeks compiling my notes and constructing a new theory for how the pestilence was able to infect someone in such an insidious manner that I nearly couldn't detect it.
Have you experienced any remorse for your actions? For the death of Dr. Ham?
Ah, yes. Well, the death of a colleague is always regrettable. But in the face of the pestilence, we must be swift, Doctor, and act without hesitation.
Dr. Sherman noted in his report that you seemed to be mournful during your initial interview.
Mourn? Perhaps. I had not thought that. It is lamentable that a fellow doctor became infected, but the work continues. Regrettable as it was, Dr. Ham's death provided important insight. Living human subjects are the only way to proceed forward, I am decided. My cure is of little use on dead flesh, and I have gleaned all I can from your generous supply of corpses. My desires turn towards tending to those still living who suffer from the disease.
I'm afraid you're going to be disappointed.
Oh, Doctor, I wouldn't be so sure.
Footnotes. The robes and gloves are identical to a thick hide built up on the skin, while the mask is composed of a kind of growth of bones out of the face. The entity claims to have originated in 15th century France, though it admits that it is particularly well traveled. The space within the bag is seemingly anomalously large. The SCP has been observed pulling objects larger than the bag from within to operate on its subjects. The SCP has stated its desire to work on human subjects several times. Between this occasion, the earlier provision of an orangutan, noting its discontentedness when it would not be provided. The SCP has expressed that it does not require sustenance, but enjoys it, and feels that food helps get it in the right mind to operate. The SCP then stated, quote, "This is of course elementary knowledge of a practical physician. I would have thought you'd have learned this during your education." Notably, 049's journals are not written in any known language, and attempts by linguists and codebreakers to decipher them have been unsuccessful. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you have a very happy Halloween. Thank you to the patrons who do continue to support this channel. It is very appreciated. Be safe out there.